Hey there, fellow citizen of the internet. Welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast. Today I have with me Brandon Mathews, and we're going to be talking about personal and professional growth. Brandon, welcome to the Moses Kabandana Podcast.
Hey, Moses, thank you for allowing me to be a part to see what is happening in your world, as well as all those who are listening today. So I'm honored to be a part of your podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, so I'm going to drop a giant umbrella term at you we hear about it day in and day out. And that is balancing work and family life. Can
Sure.
you okay, actually let's lead with this. What are some of one or two advices that are given pretty often by their complete nonsense?
Oh, man, complete nonsense. So, in the business world, all of us are professional people and we're busy people. And balance is one of the big key words right now, especially since the pandemic.
Right.
People are leaving their jobs over work-life balance. And so a lot of the buzzwords that will come up is sacrifice, work ethic, and a lot of times we try to mask someone being taken advantage of with words or terms that make you feel like you're not applying yourself enough. And certainly there is a balance to that, but this is what I like to break it down to: priority. I ask people, what is your priority? What do you really want to be said about your life? What's the ultimate goal? What's the ultimate gain? And so if it is another dollar, if it is a position, a title, a platform, then maybe it's going to take sacrifice to the point to where you miss your family, you miss the people who are closest to you, that life balance component. However, I think most people at the end of their life never say, I wish I had worked one more hour. I wish I had made one more dollar. I wish I had gained that one more thing. Most people say, tell my family, I wish I could go back and do this differently. I wish I had those years over again. So I tell people, you really need to prioritize your life around the goals of your life. And for me personally, I know that my goal is the end of my life is not to be how much have I acquired, how much do I have, but it's that my family's still there. My family loves me. My family is intact. That I spent time doing the things that really brought the most value. So even in my professional life, I have to be very careful to prioritize the things that I do want to accomplish and the things that I do want to obtain, but ultimately keeping those life balances in front of me and in order. It's priority.
Okay, prioritize first. So, can you let us into what's been your journey to finding this balance?
It is hard because if you're a driven person, if you are someone who wants to be able to achieve and wants to be able to do, the things that they want to do professionally, some of those lessons are just learned the hard way. There's something that you threw yourself into. For example, you're with a company or you're employed by someone and you work all those extra hours and you sacrifice those family events or those family times or those things that were meaningful in your personal life, but you sacrificed because you knew that was going to pay off, only to find out that the company really didn't value you as much as you valued the company or the success that you hope to achieve. And when it was all said and done, the payoff from the company perspective did not meet your expectations. So then you're deflated because of your disappointment in your work life. You're certainly disappointed and deflated because of what you've caused in your personal life because of the sacrifice you've taken. And so what happens is you realize I'm giving my life to people who really aren't going to return that in a professional way the same way that they would personally. So I think, again, when it comes to priority, you find that balance of I'm going to work hard and I'm going to do excellent work and I'm going to be able to understand with boundaries. I'm going to know when is the time that I have to sacrifice to make this happen. And then I'm going to understand the times I've got to pull back and recognize those who are closest to me in my personal life, it needs that in this moment. I think we have a difficult time in our culture with balance. I think we throw ourselves into something 0 to 10, one way or the other, healthy or unhealthy. And we
Yeah.
just struggle with balance. Most of us do. Balance takes a lot of discipline. So I think what we have to do is we have to find a healthy balance where we go, I'm not throwing myself into work and throwing my life away, but I'm also not going to use my mental health or my personal life or my work-life boundary as a crutch not to work hard and not to achieve. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. And how does someone avoid burnout in all of this?
Well, you know what? Interestingly enough, we spend a third of our life working. Most of us
Yeah.
spend a third of our life. Now, that's just in your professional everyday work life. That's not counting when you
Yeah.
have to, I don't know, pay the bills, paint the house, go buy groceries, do all the things that you have to do.
Yeah.
So most people are living the bulk of their life miserable in what they do. I know that after the pandemic, up until now, 77% of people say they hate their job. So you think about if you get up every day and you spend a third of your life doing something that you hate, that's a lot of your life in misery. So
Yeah.
burnout becomes a pandemic in the lives of people. So what I believe that we have to do is we have to infuse purpose and passion in what we do. When we realize that what we do makes a difference and we feel like that it's meaningful work, and we understand that we're not just pushing buttons, we're not just putting in data, we're not just cleaning a facility, we're not just keeping up the grounds, but when we realize that the purpose that's in that, it makes a really, really big difference. So I really try to help people wherever they are and with whatever they're doing, find purpose and passion in what they do. Like, for example, let's say your home appliance breaks, your washing machine, for your clothes, it breaks, and you have to call a repairman. Well, a repairman could be looked at as, I'm just going to fix a washing machine. I'm going to fix this electronic device. However, I would say that you're not just going to fix an appliance. What you're doing is you're going to serve a family, potentially a single mom who's raising kids on her own, and she's working hard. She's working 2 jobs. She's trying to take care of the kids, get them where they need to be, provide for them. And now the washing machine is broken, and she has all this laundry and can't take care of her kids. So as the repairman, go in there and serve that mom. Take care of her, see her, hear her, understand her frustration. And then when you fix that appliance, the machine's not just fixed, but you just fixed something for that entire family. You see the greater purpose. So then suddenly there's value, there's passion in what you do, and you walk in to that home and you go, I'm here. You've been waiting on me to get here. You've got laundry piled up and you're drowning in all this, and here I am to take care of you. So I think if we shift our mindset to understanding the value in what we do, finding purpose and passion in it, then that helps to alleviate the burnout that so many people feel.
Okay, that makes sense. As you were saying that, it brought a memory. I was in early days of college, and towards the last year of high school, my dad had said, he might have said it in passing. He was like, whenever you work as if you're working for the Lord, right? It's like,
Sure.
yeah, Dad, whatever you say, right? And so here I am, working as a security guard at a nursing home, and I get called in at like, I don't know, 2, 3 a.m. Someone's toilet was clogged, right? And they obviously, due to physical limitations and whatnot, they couldn't do it. And so I go there, I start to plunge this toilet, and I'm mad as hell. Why am I here 2, 3 a.m. plunging a toilet? And then my dead voice entered my head. Whenever you're working, work as if you're working for the Lord. It's like,
That's
I
right.
don't want to hear that right now. That's the last thing I want to hear right now. But just changing the mindset for a second, I found myself just overjoyous plunging that toilet. And I had to take a pause and think about, wait a minute. Why am I so happy to plunge this damn toilet? What happened? I was
Sure.
in a terrible mood coming to plunge this toilet. I remember this saying that my dad said, and I cannot get it out of my head anymore, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm plunging the same toilet. Nothing changed about the toilet and that situation, but my entire mentality and physiology and everything changed, and I was just
Right.
a bit more upbeat plunging that toilet.
That's right.
So there's a lot of value in what you're saying there, but there's often a big distance between that understanding, the conceptual understanding of that, and the actual
right.
implementation of it on a day-to-day
right.
life. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think part of the problem it's a leadership malfunction. I think leaders don't lead in purpose and passion much. So
Hmm.
leadership is difficult in that the people that we work for often feel the pressure of the bottom line. It's all about the revenue, what's coming in. So they're pressured to serve the bottom line. And I believe ultimately what we should be serving is the people. If the leadership shifts the mindset to help infuse passion and purpose in those they employ, think about it. Um, Business is not really about profit. I mean, that's the bottom line. But think in this perspective with me. People are what make the product. People produce it. People are what sell the product. People are what service the product. People are what deliver the product. People are, at the core, the source of it.
Hmm.
So if we focus on the people and they do great work, then it produces a great product, a great customer experience, a great customer service in the long run. So it happens internally. So here's what I challenge business leaders to do: focus on the culture in your company and infuse purpose and passion in people. It's like the broken window theory. You've probably heard the broken window theory of a neighborhood full of buildings with a bunch of broken windows. Because they're all broken, people feel the freedom to come in and not take care. But when you go in and you begin to repair all of those broken windows and things become nice, then you are very hesitant to destroy something else. So what would
Hmm.
happen in the organization if the leadership were to go in and go, we're going to work on morale, the team, the individuals. We're going to empower you, equip you. We're going to train you. We're going to resource you. We're going to support you. We're going to help you find value in what you're doing. So what happens is you change the inside, the internal culture of everyone who's there. Suddenly they want to be at work. Suddenly they feel excited about what they do. They feel like what they do matters. So they're putting in greater effort in the entire internal processes. Therefore, that spills over into every customer that they do business with. You and I feel it everywhere we go. You can feel when someone doesn't like their job. You can feel when someone is over it because you feel that experience as the customer. But then when you have a moment where someone loves what they do and it just stands out as exceptional, well, then you're going, well, tell me about your job. Tell me about your life. How are you so happy? I think if we change that internally, leadership, then we can change the entire, and then ultimately the third of the people, the third of our life that we hate, suddenly we enjoy that huge chunk of our life. We begin to love it because we've got value in it.
Okay, yeah, it's the value part. It's the value part. If you really believe in what you're doing,
Yeah.
you're gonna put in a lot of time in it,
And you can
without
create
regret.
that. You can create
Mm,
that
mm,
environment. When you walk into a room, you impact the environment when you walk in. Your body
right,
language,
right.
what you say or do not say, the way you carry yourself, your expressions, everything about you changes the environment that you go in and it impacts the people that surround you. So if the leadership changes the environment, creates such a place of desire to be and meaningful work, then in turn the environment internally and externally are changed. We have the power to
Mm,
create that for people.
yeah, yeah. The first example that comes to mind is SpaceX, right? When Elon comes on the table and he says, "Hey, here is how we've been launching rockets for the last X amount of decades. It's only governments that do it. We're gonna come in. Not only are we going to revolutionize the space industry, right? We're gonna reinvent how we fly rockets. We're gonna fly a rocket and then we're gonna bring it back to Earth and we're gonna land it perfectly every single time so that we can
Yeah,
reduce the price per payload. But we're not just building rockets, we are changing how this industry works.
that's
And
right.
so collecting the type of people that would be on that mission with him, right? And being able to say, okay, we're going to attempt to do something that's never been done, um, to the extent that we're actually envisioning. And the same applied to the Tesla side of things. It's like, hey, we're not just going to be making cars. We're
That's
not
right.
doing that. We are we are accelerating the world's transition into the electrification. It's like, okay,
Sure.
I'm onto this mission. I believe in what you're doing, and so the amount of work that goes into it has
Well, you
purpose.
think about that, that even purposely in just a very small level, someone who takes care of a lawn care. If you're going to
Right,
go
right.
somewhere this weekend and you're going to go find a new restaurant to eat, and you've never been there, and you pull up and it's unkept and it looks dirty on the outside, and it looks like there's not a lot of care into just the what you see, the external, you're probably not going to go in there because you think what you see externally is it's a representation of what's happening internally. Well, the inside's probably dirty, then the food's probably not good. But someone who went out there to cut the grass, now they're not fixing the food, they're not waiting the tables, they're not customer facing, but they just manicured that lawn so excellently. And you pull up looking for food, but you see the lawn and you think this place is nice. They really take care of this. This is going to be good. You've made
Right, right.
a decision about the food based on the grass.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Right,
lawn
right.
care guy who's weed eating and cutting grass had as much to do with your food service experience as those who were in the kitchen. And that's the big picture of how all of you would think two total, complete, separate sectors that have nothing to do with each other, a chef and someone who cuts grass, but they were intertwined, they were connected. Their value and their purpose, they worked together to create an overall experience. So that
Okay.
mindset says, man, as much as I'm cutting this grass, I'm helping serve this food. I'm preparing that meal that this family is going to eat this weekend. It's a complete mind shift.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I'm gonna do a little toe stomping here, so to speak. I'm gonna step on your toes a little bit. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. Let's see where this goes. I This was probably like a year and a half ago. I don't know why I was watching, but I was watching this TED Talk, and it was this late 60s, maybe early or mid 70s guy giving a TED Talk on retiring, right? And he was noticing that there is a huge distance between the understanding of retiring and actual retiring. I promise I'm going to bring it back to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And the issue that he noticed was that people that had worked 20, 30 years, they had found their purpose and their passion in work, but now there was no longer work. So trying to differentiate themselves from their work, like the value that they had attributed to their being their entire life, their entire working life, was with the work. And now there's no longer work. And so they lost, or it felt like they lost their purpose, their passion,
Right.
their mission in life. Can you elaborate on what, like that danger, right, of
Yes.
work becoming who you are, like seeing
Right.
yourself and your value through the work that you provide,
Yep.
and your actual intrinsic value as a human being, as a provider, as a family man, as a husband, as a wife, as a fill in the blank.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great question, and I do think this is a struggle that people fall into because we identify with what we do. Our culture celebrates position. Our culture celebrates titles, and to me, I don't. I'm just personally not interested in any of those things because I don't think that's where the value comes from. And when you identify with something that you do, ultimately, that's not who you are. But we are people of purpose. We all feel fulfilled when we do something that is meaningful. So I think this is the problem. We lean into a certain title or a certain role that we play professionally or whatever that may be. And then when that's over, our identity is gone because we identified with the role or the position or the title. So what I would encourage people to do is actually identify with feeling fulfilled and making a difference, living with purpose.
Okay.
So for example, me personally, I feel more fulfilled personally when I help other people find fulfillment. When I help add value to other people, and I know that something that I have done, regardless of the roles that I play. In my life, I have a lot of different roles, positions, and titles that I carry in my life. But if any of those go away, if I were to retire, let's say tomorrow, and I don't have the title of XYZ and I don't fill the role of XYZ, I'm okay because I'm still going to do something with my life that is going to add value to other people. There's going to be purpose behind it. So I think people are just struggling because they don't know how to make a difference. They don't have anything that make them feel fulfilled. And they felt valued and they felt fulfillment through running that company, serving on that production line or whatever it is, driving that bus, whatever they do. And so when that's over, then they just give up. But we were all created with purpose, on purpose, for a purpose. And so I just tell people, hey, look, no matter what you're doing, when you find purpose in it and value in it, regardless if that job stays, or if that job disappears, no matter what happens, you're going to be okay because you're going to bounce back into something else and you're always going to find fulfillment. It's the difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is circumstantial, it's fleeting, it's based on what's now, but joy comes from something totally different. And I think the same principle applies in our work, our work life.
Yeah. What is, just out of curiosity, what is your definition of success?
For me personally, my personal definition of success would be to have lived to my full potential, made a difference along the way, and ultimately made things better than I found it. So I always say this: I feel like I was successful if any environment that I have been in, if I leave it better than I found it. And so when I apply that principle in my personal life, my marriage, I'm a dad, I have an 8-year-old son. So if every time that I'm with them and my influence on them leaves them better day to day, then I was successful that day. If I go into my professional environments and I leave it better than I found it, then I've been successful that day. If I can look back and go, I made a difference. Obviously, we all have personal goals and things we want to do. I want to be able to reach more people. I want to be able to make a bigger difference and have a greater impact and all of those things of my journey. But if I look back and say, yeah, I left them better than I found them, for me, that's success. So where a lot of people may define success as, well, did I make this much money? Did this many people see me? Whatever. But again, that goes back to priority. What is your priority? And growth is just getting a little better today than I was yesterday. That's growth.
Yeah.
So if I can have success, even if I leave everybody a little better today than I did yesterday, to me, that's success.
I like that. The reason that I brought that up is because most of us chase success as a giant umbrella without ever taking the time to define what success means to us. Right.
Sure.
So we might pursue someone else's definition of success, and when we attain that success, all of a sudden it's like, I don't feel fulfilled. Well,
sure,
because you were chasing something that you never defined for yourself to begin with.
I
So
think that's right.
a quick segue to that. Do you think that the American dream is still a thing?
I think it's certainly still a thing, and I think it's been redefined. I think since our social construct of what people think is the American dream now, we have more influencers and people chasing likes and followers. So I think some of the construct of that has shifted to something a little different than maybe what it was. But people still want fame. They still want money. They some of the same elements and core foundational aspects are still there. But I just challenge people in this, look at the people that you think really have it all. Hollywood, musicians, the people who've got the fame, and the addiction levels of that community, of people who are destroying their life with substances, the relationships that are just all over the place, broken, and you really ask yourself, is that really success? And all it tells me is that success and purpose and meaning, it really isn't about the monetary gains that we can get. So I think if we can train people to look different, to look for success in a different way, don't look at the likes, don't look at the surface level, but look beneath. You know what I'm saying? And help you, just what you said it perfectly. We're chasing something that we really have not defined. And I do think it's important for every person to define what their meaning of success is. Because I think most people, honestly, if they were really to define what success is to them, most people are closer to it than they actually think that they are.
Yeah, I tend to think that most of us, with the reason that we fail to define success is that the second that you define what success means, that means that when you fail, you know that you failed. So by us keeping ourselves from defining that success, it means, well, at least I won't fail, right? But it's really not true, because then you're better off defining success, putting your best foot forward to achieve that success, failing, taking all the lessons that you've learned through this failure, reapplying it, and then maybe even like change directions. That's fine, but you're putting your best foot forward into achieving something. Okay, leadership, and specifically, I don't have much experience in this, so what I'm saying is simply from a conceptual understanding. But what is the relationship between being a leader at work and then being a leader at home? What does that look like? How do you differentiate that?
When you come to considering leadership at home or at work, I think for most people it is different. I think most people try to compartmentalize their life and their leadership. And so they're a different person at work than they are at home. And I think they ought to go together, because I think the people who are closest to you, there's a couple of different ways to look at it. The law of familiarity, right? So something that you're very familiar with, you treat with a little less respect. So I know, working with a lot of businessmen, what they'll tell me is they feel a lot of pressure at home, and they love to be at work and work more hours because they feel like they have the authority and they have the control. So their leadership comes from a place of positional authority. And then when they get home and they're confronted with their wife, their kids, or their spouse, whomever that may be, then there's a lot of tension, and you tend to talk to people differently who are close to you in a different way than you would the people who are at work. So you take them for granted. Maybe you're a little more harsh. And so what I think we have to do is we have to back up as leaders and, again, recognize that it's all about people. And when you recognize that it's about people, adding value to people, helping people be better, then you treat those who are close to you with value, with respect, with honor, and you'll begin to do that in your work environment as well. I think every person deserves respect. Every person deserves to be valued. And you give people room to grow. You give people room to get better, to be better. And then in the work environment, if they don't, well, then, the consequences, then they don't get to keep their job. But you give them room to grow, and I just choose to be for people. So in my leadership, I want to be the same at home as I am with other people. And what does that mean? Professionally, I want to value them, help them, grow them, see them get better. At home, I want to honor them, value them, respect them, help them grow, and help them to get better. So I just encourage people, stop compartmentalizing your leadership and just go to the basics and do good to people.
It sounds like too simplistic, right? Just be good to people. I like to think of it in terms of at the very least, you need to respect the person's dignity as a human being. That's right. And then go on from there.
See, we have a culture of dishonor. We live in a culture of dishonor, and we try to find ways to do it. We try to dishonor people over their socioeconomic standings, over their race, over their background, over their mistakes, over their successes, or over their failures. We try to find reasons to dishonor people. But I believe we need to honor those who are above us, regardless. They're your boss, they're your leadership, they're your government, whatever. We need to honor those in authority over us. I think we need to serve those who are behind us. We're leading people. There are people who want to be where we are. They want to experience what we're experiencing. They're watching us. So we ought to be serving them and helping them and bringing them along. And then we need to be walking with those who are beside us. We ought to be hand in hand, helping each other get better and achieving success for all of us. But instead, we all think we have to run ahead of everyone else. We have to push them down and step over them so we can get to where we want to go. No, honor those above you, serve those behind you, and walk with those who are beside you.
I like that. And just a quick tangent here. What is your absolute earliest memory, if you can even remember?
Oh, and just childhood life, earliest
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, yeah, that you can think
Oh
of.
wow. Um, it's funny to consider that question. My earliest childhood memories are with family at home. Um, we had a great there was difficulties obviously like everyone else in our immediate family and growing up in challenges, um but I had a great home life, and I can remember, I think, probably like Saturday mornings, back in the day. I'm old enough to remember Saturday morning cartoons, a bowl of
Yep,
cereal in
yep,
front of the
yep.
television, my parents with a cup of coffee, that type of thing. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of my greatest and probably earliest memories, if I think about it, stretch back to early childhood of moments like that. Again,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, a trip to here. It wasn't a vacation to here. It wasn't a
Yeah,
gift,
yeah.
that in a context of our conversation. It was moments, and those moments that matter the most. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Uh, it's a good segue to talk about gratitude. Gratitude.
Yeah.
So whether you're a leader, whether you are seeking to be a leader, whether you have a job, whether you don't have a job, whether you
Yeah.
resent the current position that you're in, work-wise
Yeah.
or not, the role of gratitude in a day-to-day life. Can you touch on that? I asked her because I think it was like 2 days ago or something. I was sitting right here in this desk, and I was trying to troubleshoot a computer problem, and I got super mad. And then for a second, I was like, wait, Moses, hold on. Okay, so 15 years ago, we were in Mozambique, right? We did not know what Google was, right? And
Yeah.
here we are trying to troubleshoot this thing. Just look how far we've came. Like that's just
Oh
that.
man.
Be grateful for the fact
Yes.
that you have lights, you have cameras, you have a computer.
That's
You
right.
understand, and you're at a position that you're teaching people these things. But you're coming from a place where you did not even know what Google was, and
That's
I
right.
was forced to just pause and be grateful. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not coming from like a moral superiority, type of place. It's just
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
example of, what happened a few weeks
Absolutely.
ago. So, but yeah, can you touch on the role of gratitude in all of this?
Oh, I love that you say that. It's everything. Gratitude's everything. Gratitude will help align your life to value people. It'll help you appreciate where you are and what you have. You said it so perfectly well. It's not always been that way that I've had that outlook, but many years ago, someone helped me change my perspective in moments just like you of going, complaining about this or complaining about that. And they challenged me on it, and they checked, my motives, and helped me align myself to what success was and some of these things. And so today, I tell people, I just had this conversation not long ago. I said, look, I stopped complaining a long time ago about paying utility bills. I hear so many people complain about paying utility bills, and I get it. They're high, they
Right,
go up, they
right.
go down. But here's the reality: I'm so grateful that I have electricity, so I gladly pay that utility bill. I'm so
Right,
thankful.
right.
I'm grateful that I have clean running water every time I turn on my tap. And so I'm grateful to pay that water bill. And so it's an alignment of your gratitude to understand the things that really matter and the things that are really important. Our culture, we just don't, we celebrate things that, that look like success, and we omit the things that really add value to our life every single day. And so when I stop to realize that it's the old quote that some of the things that we complain about today are the things that we dreamed about yesterday. And
Yeah,
man, what
right,
a,
right.
I don't know who attribute, that quote to, but it's so good and it's so true. And gratitude checks your attitude, put your attitude in check. Man,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so grateful that I have a job. It may not be the job that I want, may not be the dream, but you know what? I've got somewhere to go. It's going to pay my bills, and it's going to take care of me right now. And I'm going to grow,
Right.
and I'm going to learn, and it's going to make me hungry to work harder to get to where I want to be or to achieve what I want to achieve. So be grateful for that. Be grateful that you have something that is pushing you to make you better. So yeah, you said it perfectly, and that is a great mindset. Your attitude is the lens in which you see the world, and
Yeah.
gratitude helps to align your attitude.
Man, I like that. Gratitude helps to align the attitude. and yeah, being grateful when things are not going well. That's
That's right.
that's the difficult one.
Let
Man,
me give you a
Brandon,
quick. Let me give you really a quick example, and I think this will
yeah,
encourage
yeah.
somebody who's out there. And I'll wrap it up really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I lead an organization that I began from scratch nearly 13 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and in launching this organization, I had to work multiple jobs in order to support the launch of this organization. So I took a job as an independent contracted courier. And if anyone knows
Mm-hmm.
what that is, I bought a van, and basically what that means for companies, I would deliver things within a 4 hour time span, traveling states. So it could be lab
Okay.
rats, it could be a casket, it could be medical supplies, pharmaceuticals, you name it. So as
Mm-hmm.
I'm working hard to launch this organization, but I'm doing everything else that has nothing to do with the organization, right? Just to make ends
Mm-hmm.
meet. And so I'm doing this, and I'm miserable 2 years into this process of doing this courier work. And I'm complaining about it, and I'm saying to myself, why did I do this? This has nothing to do with what I set out to create and to build.
Mm-hmm.
That led me to, after 2 years, I spent the next 3 years working for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew a lot, learned a lot there, okay? But this is still while I'm building the organization that I'm growing. All right, after a few years at Apple, I had the best health coverage I've ever had in my life. In this time period, my wife and I discovered that we could not have a child without the help of in vitro, which is, a very expensive process that we could have never afforded. Ultimately, Apple paid for 3 rounds of in vitro 100%. On the
Wow.
third attempt, my wife and I had a successful process. So my son was born in 2016. In 2017, I was able to leave all of those other workloads to then work full time in the organization that I had begun. All that to say, go buy an Apple product. It bought my kid, right? It paid for my kid. But here's the reality: I was right where I needed to be. And all of those, what felt like horrible negative experiences, I personally believe was God ordaining my life where I was to get what He knew my true desire would be, and that was a son. So I could have given up. I could have let it ruin my attitude, and some days it did. But looking back, all of that, my son today would have never happened had I just would have just been able to begin the organization, do nothing but lead that and grow that and focus on that without the difficulty of something else. So I say that to everyone. Check your gratitude, check your heart, check your motives, check your passions, and understand that where you are today is going to produce something great down the road. Just don't give up. Just stick with it. There's a plan and a purpose behind all of it. So hopefully that encourages somebody to know there's a payoff.
Yeah, yeah. Brandon, that is a lot of strong and good nuggets that you just dropped here for my audience and I. As we're coming to a close here, what are some practical tips specifically for someone to check their attitude, right, in their work, and in their life, like day to day family life and personal life, as far as the personal growth and work related growth is concerned? What are some practical
Yeah.
tips that someone can take right now and
Yeah.
apply into their life in order to check their attitude?
Well, I think it comes down to just a personal assessment, a real, honest, personal assessment. Take inventory of yourself. So, for example, if you're complaining about where you are, the people you work with, the job that you do, the tasks that you have, the boss that you have, and you leave that organization and you go to the next one, and then you find yourself complaining about the people you work with, the boss that you have, the tasks that you do, the pay, all these things. And this is a continual cycle in your life. There's a good chance that it may not be the organizations that you're working for. It may be your outlook and your attitude that you have. If you wake up every day feeling like it's raining and you have to put on your rain boots and your raincoat and carry your umbrella, but you happen to look around and notice that everyone else is walking in sunshine and you're the only one splashing in puddles, it may be your attitude. And
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
really believe that most of us look outward instead of looking inward.
Inward,
And we
yeah.
need to be able to look inward at ourselves, take inventory for our own actions and what we cause from within ourselves, because this is the reality. It's hard, and I get it, but it's the reality. You can be in a negative environment and still be a positive person. You have the ability to change the environment that you go. My positivity, and I've had to work on this over the years and grow personally, but it's not based on what someone else does. It's based on what I choose to do.
Okay.
So take inventory, look at yourself, and be real honest with a real honest assessment. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Because honesty is another umbrella term that just gets thrown around left and right. But to take an honest inventory of yourself, one, requires a lot of vulnerability within yourself.
That's right.
But it forces you to look in places that you've been afraid in looking, because you know what looms in the back and you don't want to open that door. So having to really take that honest look at yourself is a really important one.
Most people want someone to cheer them on and tell them all the good.
Right.
But we want a care crew, someone who's going to care for us and love us and pet us. But what we also need is equally as important is a challenge crew. You need somebody who will challenge you. You need somebody in your life that can see your blind spots. So if you feel like you can't fully get a good gauge of where you are, honestly, as you take inventory personally, find somebody you trust and give them permission. Ask them and give them permission to speak into your life and tell you where your edges are just a little rough.
I like that. I made a video a while back about how to tell if someone is a true good friend and how to be a good friend to someone.
Yeah.
And that's when you're able to celebrate their wins with them, right, without being envious, but also being able to really tell them honestly, hey, given what I know you to be, how I know you to be, I'm gonna step on your toes for the next 10 minutes, but it's for your own for your own growth and for your own benefit. Brandon, my goodness, we could keep going on here for another long minute, but I want to respect our hour here, and as I have another podcast to hop on in 5 minutes. But seriously, some good advice that you left here. I'd love to have you back. As people are listening to this podcast and they want to learn more about you, where do they find you?
Yeah, just simply visit brandonmathews.com. And you can see all the ways that I can add value to you or your organization. I work with organizations going in and helping with culture, helping with teams and leadership. A lot of the principles that we talked about today, helping to infuse those into different organizations. You can also connect with me across all socials there. And then also, I'd love for you to check out my podcast, the Mind Your Business Podcast, and you can find that at brandonmathews.com as well.
Brandon, thank you so much for coming to the Moses Kabandana Podcast. It has been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It's my honor. Thank you so much.